I'm not against education, I'm against the schooling system. So, I want to talk about school. Schoolwork, homework, basically school-oriented stuff. Over the years, I haven't been a very big fan of school for good reason. Some people probably don't see it as to be a good reason, but I see it to be a perfectly good reason. My first thing that I want to say is when you were back in high school, or middle school, or whatever, you go to school, and you sit down in class, and you wonder, how do people learn in such a boring environment? Seriously. School is so boring. And how is one person supposed to learn in an environment where it's not exciting, where it's boring, and nothing is interesting to you? Me personally, I learn best when I'm interested in something. When something becomes interesting to me or catches my eye, that attracts my attention, that is when I want to look further into it and actually learn about whatever it is about the topic. Many schools and many classes, I want to say, they aren't interesting, or they don't change things up so that the children can really absorb the information or content. So it becomes a little bit more difficult for the children to learn about certain things like history or math, or those important topics, or like a government. A lot of kids nowadays don't want to learn about government. It's boring to them. It's not interesting to them. So you have to change it up and make it interesting to them. Change it up in a way where they find it like exciting and fun to learn. Another thing that I want to talk about is homework. Understood the whole thing about homework. Well, yeah, I understand that homework is doing schoolwork at home. Why do you have to do schoolwork at home? Schoolwork should be done at school. And when you're done with schoolwork, you should go home and do whatever it is that you do in your life. Work that's done at school should stay in school. Apparently, the education system doesn't see it that way. Apparently, 7 hours of school isn't enough school for children, so I guess they have to give out homework to make kids occupied at home, so it keeps them out of trouble. I also want to add that everybody learns differently in school. When I was in school, I learned differently than I did compared to my classmates. My classmates would probably learn one way, and I wouldn't be comfortable absorbing that kind of information in the way that it's given out. So I couldn't comprehend or really know what the information is really in the way that it was provided. So, and that's the way that the education system works. They want you to learn a certain way. If you're not comfortable with that, you fail. If you don't know how to learn that way, if your brain isn't wired that way where you can learn easily in education system, you're gonna fail. And that's basically to the bottom line right there. If you don't learn the way they want you to learn, you're gonna fail. And you're not gonna do good, apparently. And you're not gonna be quote unquote smart. The way I see it, anyone can be smart without ever going to school. I'm not against education, I'm against the schooling system. I would learn a different way than how the teachers would teach it, basically. Most students in the class would probably learn how the teacher says it, and I probably wouldn't understand how the teacher said it, and so it would be more difficult for me to really understand the content that's provided. And I had a big problem with how teachers teach, basically, and so and I couldn't really do anything about it. because I'm one student, and if you're a student, if you're not an adult, they're not going to listen to you because you don't know anything, apparently. I also learned that in the school, they don't want any children to be individuals, and they don't want them to be unique. They want all the students to be the same, like a whole bunch of sheep, you know? Just, it's crazy, and they don't really respect the students. They put them wherever they want and tell them to do whatever they want them to do. It's a little unfair if you think, if you ask me. When I was going to school, they didn't have cameras, and now they have cameras around campuses. So I think that's a little too big, brother. Right there, like going to school and you have cameras watching you. I think that's a little messed up. That's kind of like breaching your privacy. And it's a little messed up. And privacy is something that you have to keep. Important to have, no matter who it is. Privacy is important to have, and I respect people's privacy. I wouldn't want someone spying on me all the time when I'm at school. That's kind of rude. Classes, homework is actually 50% of the grade or higher. You know, some cases it's actually like 70%. It's crazy. And I just like, homework should not exist, like, at all. Homework should be done at school. Schoolwork should be done at school. It shouldn't be homework. When you get out of school, you just live your life. Live your life, do what you want to do.